Alon Liael is a former Israeli ambassador who also served as Director General of Israel's Foreign Ministry. He's joining us from Tel Aviv. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. I want to just take us back 12 hours or so to the point of the scenes that we saw from Hostage Square in Tel Aviv last night when Steve Witkoff was talking, also Jared Kushner, and the fact that there were cheers for Donald Trump, cheers for Stephen Witkoff. There were boos for Benjamin Netanyahu. What is the mood in Israel at the moment?
First of all, regarding the boos to Netanyahu, it's not a surprise. There was a lot of tension between the families of the hostages and Netanyahu. The Netanyahu circles thought that the massive public campaign of the families is weakening the Israeli position versus Hamas. And really the feeling, I think, in Tel Aviv, in the square, was a big hug to Trump and his people and a big boo to Netanyahu. I don't think anyone was surprised. I would be very surprised if the crowd in the square would applaud Netanyahu.
When Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner were talking, the speeches made it sound like that this was a done deal. The fact that the captives were returning home, and yes, they would be exchanged for Palestinian prisoners, that was what they were focusing on. That was the only stage that really kind of mattered, and everything else was kind of up for grabs. Is there a concern that Israel's focus is only on getting the captives returned, and after that, they're really not that interested?
There is such a concern, of course. Israel wants to see the hostages and understands it has to pay the price of releasing prisoners. But stage two is not something that is welcomed by Israel. And I think this is also the reason that Israel is not invited to Cairo, because the leaders, including the European leaders coming, are going to discuss stage two in Cairo. Meaning, how do you see that on the ground the war will really end, and how do you go on from there on to stage two, to a stage that will bring the partners into one room to discuss the possibility of a Palestinian state? This is something that Israel is not ready to at all, even not the public. And I think also for the Palestinians who will also not be in Egypt, I think stage two is speaking on taking from them the arms and removing Hamas from the Palestinian leadership. So they're probably also worried about it.
I think just to make a small point for the benefit of our viewers, I understand that the summit that he's going to be attending is actually going to be in Sharm el-Sheikh. I think it was President Trump, Patty Culhane mentioned it, had originally perhaps mistakenly suggested he was going to Cairo, but the summit is actually happening in Sharm el-Sheikh. And I want to ask you what the political ramifications might be for Benjamin Netanyahu and the coalition as a result of the strength of feeling that we saw last night. And I take your point that this was a feeling that was already there when there was booing when Benjamin Netanyahu's name was mentioned. But is this, once the captives are returned, what do you see as the ramifications for this, for Benjamin Netanyahu and his coalition?
It depends first what will happen with Hamas. If Hamas is still around with the weapons, running the show in Gaza, it will be a huge burden politically for Netanyahu. And he will do his utmost to prove to the Israeli public that Hamas is gone. The other thing is, if the international community will start discussing on stage two, even if it's in the framework of the Abraham Accords, meaning a Palestinian representation, maybe the Palestinian Authority has to start speaking with Israel. This is a political blow to Netanyahu, because there is only one thing to speak about with the PA, and this is self-determination to the Palestinians, and he promised that this will never happen. So the two things to follow politically is is Hamas still around? Two, is the international community pushing Israel and the Palestinians into the same room? These are two issues that are very problematic for Netanyahu.
Alon, Liael, former ambassador, Israeli ambassador, who also served as Director General of Israel's Foreign Ministry, and we appreciate you being with us, sir. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.